The Detroit Lions didn't enter free agency looking to win headlines. They entered it looking to win margins. And when you study what this front office has built over the last few seasons, you start to realize something important. This is no longer a team chasing relevance. This is a team protecting a championship window. That changes everything about how you approach free agency. Instead of throwing massive contracts at big names, the Lions leaned into something far more calculated. Value, efficiency, precision. This is what smart contenders do when their core is already expensive, already talented, and already capable of making a deep postseason run. Every dollar matters, every role matters, and every signing has to fit not just the roster, but the identity. And when you really dig into what Detroit did, one thing becomes clear. They didn't just sign players. They targeted specific problems and solved them at a fraction of the expected cost. Take the addition of Tyler Conklin. On the surface, it might not move the needle for casual fans. But when you understand the context, it becomes one of the most fascinating moves of the offseason. This is a veteran tight end with a proven track record of production across multiple seasons. Yes, his most recent year wasn't his best, but that's exactly where smart teams find value. They buy low on players with a history of consistency. And the financial side makes it even more impressive. Detroit secured him for just over $1 million against the cap. That's not just affordable. That's strategic theft in a league where reliable tight end depth often costs 3 or 4 times that amount. If Conklin returns even close to his previous form, this becomes one of the most efficient signings in the entire NFL. But the Lions didn't stop there. The real statement of intent came with how they approached the secondary, specifically with Roger McCreary. This is where things get really interesting. McCreary is not some unknown flyer. He's a former second-round pick, a player with starting experience, versatility, and proven playoff contributions. He can line up in the slot, play safety, support the run, and hold his own in coverage. Players like that don't usually hit the market at a discount, and they definitely don't sign one-year deals near the veteran minimum. Yet somehow, that's exactly what Detroit pulled off. This move tells you everything about how Brad Holmes operates. He understands market inefficiencies. He understands scheme fit. And most importantly, he understands timing. McCreary was coming off a situation where he didn't perfectly fit a defensive system, but his individual performance never collapsed. That's the sweet spot. That's where contenders strike. And if McCreary performs the way he's capable of, this isn't just a good signing. It's a massive win that could stabilize a key part of the defense for almost no financial risk. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. This wasn't just about individual bargains. It was about reshaping the roster without compromising the future. At quarterback, the addition of Teddy Bridgewater might not dominate headlines, but it quietly upgrades one of the most important positions on the team. Backup quarterback is often overlooked until it becomes a problem. Detroit made sure it won't be. Bridgewater brings experience, leadership, and stability. If Jared Goff misses time, the offense doesn't collapse. That matters in a season where every game could determine playoff seeding. At running back, the shift from David Montgomery to Isaiah Pacheco is one of the more complex moves to evaluate. This isn't a clear upgrade or downgrade. It's a philosophical shift. Montgomery brought reliability and physicality, but also mileage. Pacheco brings explosiveness and youth, but also durability concerns. This is where you see Detroit betting on upside while managing cost. They're not asking Pacheco to carry the entire load. They're placing him in a complementary role where his strengths can shine without overexposing his weaknesses. If it works, the Lions get more big play potential out of their backfield at a lower price. And if you're enjoying this kind of deep breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because we're going to keep dissecting every move that shapes this season and beyond. At wide receiver, the transition from Khalif Raymond to Greg Dortch might seem minor, but it reflects another layer of strategic thinking. Detroit got younger, more versatile in the return game, and slightly more dynamic in open space. These are small edges, but small edges win games in December and January. The tight end room, as mentioned earlier, becomes deeper and more flexible with Conklin. That gives the offense more options in both the passing game and blocking schemes. It also protects against injuries, which is critical for a team with postseason aspirations. But not every move was about improvement. And this is where the Lions' offseason becomes even more interesting. At offensive tackle, there's a clear step back, at least for now. Losing a player like Taylor Decker without a proven replacement creates uncertainty. Larry Borum may be serviceable, but he's not the same caliber. This puts pressure on the draft or internal development to fill that gap. For a team built on offensive line dominance, that's something to watch very closely. The interior offensive line, however, tells a different story. By bringing in Cade Mays and adding depth like Juice Scruggs, Detroit is reshaping the unit with younger, potentially more athletic players. There's risk here due to limited track records, but also upside. This is a calculated gamble that could pay off if even one of these players exceeds expectations. Defensively, the edge position remains a question mark. DJ Wonnum and Peyton Turner provide depth and rotational value, but they don't solve the fundamental issue of needing a consistent pass rush threat. This is a position that still feels unfinished, and it's likely where Detroit will look in the draft. At defensive tackle and linebacker, the story becomes more concerning. Losing contributors without clear replacements creates gaps that can't be ignored. Alex Anzalone's departure, in particular, leaves a leadership and production void that won't be easy to fill. Players like Malcolm Rodriguez and Damone Clark will have opportunities, but relying on them to replicate that level of impact is a significant leap. In the secondary, though, there's a sense of quiet confidence. Even with some uncertainty around injuries and roles, the addition of McCreary and the flexibility of players like Christian Izien give Detroit options. This unit may not be dramatically improved on paper, but it's been stabilized in a cost-effective way. And that's really the theme of this entire offseason. The Lions didn't chase perfection. They chased sustainability. They identified where they could improve, where they could hold steady, and where they could afford to take risks. They maximized value in key areas while preserving cap space for the future. And most importantly, they stayed true to the identity that got them here. This is what contenders look like when they mature. They stop making emotional decisions and start making calculated ones. So when you ask what the best value signing was, you can point to Conklin, you can point to McCreary, and you'd be right in both cases. But the real answer might be bigger than any single player. The best value move was the philosophy itself. Because if even a few of these low-cost, high-upside bets hit, the Lions won't just remain competitive. They'll become even more dangerous, with the flexibility to keep building year after year. And as this roster continues to evolve, one thing is becoming undeniable. Detroit isn't just trying to win now. They're building something that can last. If you want to stay ahead of every move, every roster battle, and every strategic shift, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this season is shaping up to be one of the most important in Lions history.